Om Tavagatamritam Taptajivanam Gavibilijitam Galmarjabaham Shravanamangaram Srimadatatam Bhuvi Guridanti Buridajanaha. O Lord, your nectar-like words stop the burning misery of afflicted souls. Your words, which the poets have sung in verse, vanquish sins forever. Blessed are they who hear of your vast glory. Blessed indeed are those who speak of you, and how unparalleled is their bounty. Jaima. So we are continuing. We're in the reading of the first volume of the Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita. We left off, we are in chapter 3. We left off last week on section 4 of chapter 3. So we're at Beni Madhav's garden house for the Sinthi Brahmo Samaj semi-annual meeting. And Sri Ramakrishna is there. So they've set up a huge assembly hall, and Thakur is speaking in front of a large crowd. So now, chapter 3, section 5. And as usual, it starts off with a Gita verse, chapter 11, verse 54. And I think the sound should be okay. So the verse is, "But by a single-minded devotion can I of this form be known and seen in reality and also entered into, O Arjuna." Vision of God with form or without form. A Brahmo devotee asked, "Revered sir, can God be seen? If she can be seen, why aren't we able to see her?" Sri Ramakrishna, yes, of course she can be seen. She can be seen with form, and she can be seen also without form. How can I make you understand? Brahmo devotee, in what way is she able to be seen? Sri Ramakrishna, can you weep for her with yearning? Thakur continues, people weep a jug of tears for children, for wife, for money, but who's weeping for God? As long as the child stays distracted with its pacifier, the mother does the cooking and the like and all the housework. When the child no longer likes the pacifier and throws the pacifier away and cries and weeps, then the mother sets down the rice pot and comes running and takes the child on her lap. Brahmo devotee, revered sir, why are there so many different opinions about the nature of God? Some say with form, some say without form. Also we hear about the many different forms of those who believe in God with form. Why so much confusion? Sri Ramakrishna, the form a devotee sees is the only form they think about. Actually, there isn't so much confusion at all. If you're able to experience her just once in any way, then she explains everything. You didn't go to the neighborhood, so how will you get all the news from there? Then Thakur says, listen to a story. A person had gone out for a bowel movement. So back in those days, you go to the bathroom and just go walk out into the field. It's actually still common. You go walk out into the field. Actually, that detail is not mentioned in the other translations, but it's an important detail. So a person had gone out for a bowel movement. He saw on a tree an animal was sitting. He came back and said to someone, "Look, I just saw a beautiful red-colored animal in such and such tree." The other person replied, "When I've gone out there for a bowel movement, I've also seen it, but how can it be red-colored? It's green-colored." Another person said, No, I've seen it, it's yellow." In this way, other people said, "No, it's white, it's purple, it's blue," and so on. In the end, it's an argument. Then they went to the foot of the tree and saw a person sitting there. They questioned him, and he said, "I live at the foot of this tree. I know this animal very well. What all of you are saying is entirely true. Sometimes it's red, sometimes green, sometimes yellow, sometimes blue, and also how many other colors? It's a chameleon. Also, sometimes I see it doesn't have any color at all. Sometimes it has qualities, sometimes it has no qualities." Thakur continues, that is, only the person who ever and always thinks of God knows her true nature, right? Only that person knows that she reveals herself in many different forms, reveals herself in many different moods, that she is with qualities and she is also without qualities. Only the one who lives at the base of the tree knows that the chameleon has many different colors, and also that sometimes it doesn't have any color at all. Other people only argue and fight and suffer. Kabir used to say, "The one without form is my father, the one with form is my mother." The form that the devotee loves is the very form in which she reveals herself, she who is affectionate to the devotees. It's in the Puranas. For Hanuman, the heroic devotee, she assumed the form of Rama. Explanation of the form of Kali and the form of Shama, Krishna. The infinite cannot be known. Thakur continues, in the presence of the reasoning of Vedanta, forms and the like fly away. The final conclusion of that reasoning is this: Brahman is real, and the world of name and form is unreal. Only as long as this self-image of I am a devotee remains is it possible to have the vision of God's form and the feeling of calling God a vyakti, a person. When seen through the eyes of reason, this self-image of a devotee's I has kept the devotee at a bit of a distance. Why is the form of Kali and the form of Shama 5¼ feet tall? Because of distance. Because of distance, the sun looks small. Go near it, and it will look so huge you won't be able to comprehend it. Also, why do the form of Kali and the form of Shama have a black color? That's also because of distance. Just like the water of a large lake from a distance looks green or blue or black colored. Go to it, pick up a handful of water and look. It doesn't have any color at all. If you see the sky from a distance, it's the color blue. Go near it, it doesn't have any color at all. So what I'm saying is, in the view of Vedantic reasoning, Brahman is without qualities. What its real nature is, that can't be spoken of with the lips. But as long as you yourself are real, the world is also real. God's various forms are also real, and the feeling that God is a person is also real. The path of devotion is your path. This is very good. This is an easy path. Is an infinite God able to be known? Besides, what's the need of just knowing her, having received this rare human birth? And in the Bengali, this is bold. M put it in bold. Having received this rare human birth, I need to be devoted to her lotus feet. If my thirst goes away with one jug of water, what's the need of knowing how much water is in the lake? I become drunk after half a bottle of liquor. What's the need in calculating how much alcohol there is in the liquor store? Is it really necessary to know the infinite? Chapter 3, Section 6. Again, starts with the Gita verse from chapter 3, verse 17. But for that one who rejoices only in the self, who is satisfied with the self, and who is content in the self alone, verily there is nothing to do. Signs of attaining God, the 7 planes, and knowledge of Brahman. Sri Ramakrishna. In the Vedas, there are descriptions of the various states of a knower of Brahman. That path, the path of knowledge, is a very difficult path. If there's worldly mindedness, even the slightest trace of attachment to lust and greed, kamani kanchan, then there's no knowledge. This isn't the path for Kali Yuga. Related to this, there's mention in the Vedas of the Saptabhumi, the 7 planes. These 7 planes are the places of the mind. When the mind stays in the world, then the mind's dwelling place is the penis, the anus, and the navel. The mind has no upward gaze then. The mind is absorbed only in kamani kanchan. The 4th plane of the mind, the heart. Then the first awareness has begun, and one has the vision of light in all 4 directions. That person is stunned seeing this divine light and says, "What's this? What's this?" Then the mind no longer goes downward towards the world. The 5th plane of the mind, the throat. The one whose mind has risen to the throat has gone beyond all delusion and ignorance and doesn't enjoy listening to or speaking of anything else other than God. If someone talks about anything else, they get up and leave that place. The 6th plane of the mind, the forehead. When the mind goes there, day and night, there's the vision of divine forms. Even then, a little bit of I remains. That person has the vision of unrivaled beauty and becomes drunk and goes to touch and hug that form but can't. It's like there's a light inside a lantern, and I think, I've touched it, I touched this light, I touched it. But because there's a glass barrier, I am unable to touch it. At the top of the head, the seventh plane, when the mind goes to that place, there's samadhi, and the knower of Brahman has the direct vision of Brahman. But the body doesn't live much longer in that state. Always unconscious, unable to eat anything, and if milk is poured into the mouth, it runs out. At this plane, there's death in 21 days. This alone is the state of a knower of Brahman. You all are on the path of devotion. It's very good and easy. Renunciation of actions when samadhi occurs. Talk of the past. Thakur's renunciation of rituals like tarpan. Thakur continues. A person said to me, "Revered sir, can you teach me this samadhi thing?" Everyone laughs. Thakur continues. When there's samadhi, all actions are left behind. Puja, japa, and such actions, worldly duties, everything is left behind. In the beginning, there's a big fuss about rituals. The more you progress in the direction of God, the more ceremonial rituals become less, even to the point that singing her names in glory stops. To Shivanath. As long as you hadn't come to the assembly, there was much talk of your name and virtues. As soon as you arrived, immediately all that talk stopped. Then they were happy simply to have sight of you. Then people said, "Here, Shivanath Babu's come." All other talk about you stops. After this state of mind, when I went to perform water oblations, tarpana, in the waters of the Ganga, I see that the water is falling between my fingers. Then weeping, I asked Haladari, "Dara, what happened?" Haladari said, "This is called Galita Hasta," which literally means falling through the fingers. In other words, a state where one has moved beyond rituals. So literally, the water can't be held in his hands to do the ritual. So this is called Galita Hasta. After the vision of God, tarpana and other rituals don't remain. In the beginning of Sankirtan, one says, "Nitai Amar Matahati." My Nitai is a mad elephant. My Nitai is a mad elephant. When the mood deepens, one only says, "Hatti, Hatti." After that, only Hatti. This is the only word on the lips. Finally saying, "Hut," there's bhava samadhi. Then that person who had been chanting kirtan for so long becomes silent. Like at a feeding of Brahmins. At first there's a lot of commotion. Once everyone has sat down with the leaf plates in front of them, then a lot of the commotion has gone down. "Bring luchis," is the only sound remaining. After that, when they've started to eat the luchis and vegetables, then 3/4 of the sound has gone down. Once the yogurt arrives, then it's soup, soup. Everyone laughs. No words at all are spoken. After the meal, sleep. Then there's almost no sound at all. So what I'm saying is, in the very beginning, there's a lot of commotion about rituals. Then again, in Bengali, this is in bold. The more you go forward on the path to God, the more rituals will be reduced. Finally, there's the renouncing of rituals, and then samadhi. When a housewife becomes pregnant, the mother-in-law gives her less work to do. At 9 months, she almost doesn't have any work at all to do. She almost doesn't have to do any work at all. Once there's a child, work is completely given up. Now the mother only takes care of the child. The mother-in-law, the husband's sisters, and the husband's brother's wife, they do the housework. Bodies of avatars and others after samadhi. Instructions for people. Thakur continues. After someone becomes established in samadhi, the body usually doesn't remain. There are some whose bodies remain for instructing people, those like Narada, and incarnations, avatars, like Chaitanya Dev. When a well has been dug, some people remove the basket and the spade. Some people leave them. They think, in case someone in the neighborhood needs them. In the same way, great souls are disturbed by the suffering of living beings. They aren't selfish once they've gotten knowledge. Oh, you know about selfish people. If you say to them, "Piss over here," they won't piss at all, just in case you'd benefit. Everyone laughs. If you give them a coin to buy a sandesh from the store, they bring it to you after sucking on it again and again. Everyone laughs. But there's a special power. Ordinary vessels are afraid to give instructions to people. A piece of driftwood is able to float along by itself, but if a bird comes and sits on it, it sinks. But sages like Narada are strong logs. This wood isn't just able to float itself. It can also carry many people, cows, and even elephants. Chapter 3, Section 7. And again with the Gita verse from chapter 11, verse 45. I am delighted having seen what has never been seen before, and yet my mind is distressed with fear. Show me that previous form only, O God. Have mercy, O God of gods, O abode of the universe. This is after Arjuna has seen the cosmic form of Bhagavan Krishna. Brahmo Samaj's method of prayer and description of God's glory. Talk of the past. Theft of ornaments at Radhakanta's room in Dakshineshwar in 1869. Sri Ramakrishna to Shivanath. Hey, why do you all describe so much of God's splendor? I've said those very words to Keshav Sen. One day they all went there to the Kali temple. I said, what kind of lectures do you all give? I'll listen. Well, on the Ganga's Ghat and the Chandni, there was a meeting, and Keshav started to speak. He spoke well, and I went into bhava. Later I said to Keshav, why do you talk about all these things so much? Oh God, what beautiful flowers you've made. You've made the sky, you've made the stars, you've made the sea, all this. Those who themselves love opulence love to describe God's opulence. When Radhakanta's ornaments were stolen, these were the gold, pure gold ornaments that the Murtis were wearing. When the Radhakanta's ornaments were stolen, Seju Babu, Rasmani's son-in-law, went into the Radhakanta temple and started to say, shame, Lord, you couldn't protect your own ornaments. I told Seju Babu, well, aren't you so intelligent? He who has Lakshmi herself as his servant, and whose feet she lovingly massages, does he lack any opulence? For you, these ornaments are an important thing, but for God, they're just some lumps of dirt. Shame, such stupid words shouldn't be said. What opulence can you give him? So I say, the one in whom people take joy is the one people want. Where their house is, how many houses, how many gardens, how much wealth, how many relatives, how many male and female servants. What's the use of this information? When I see Narendra, then I forget everything. Where his house is, what his father does, how many brothers he has. There's never been a day where even by mistake I've asked about all this. Dive into God's honey sweetness. Her endless creation, endless opulence. What's the use of this kind of information for us? And M says, again, that same singing in the same voice that puts to shame the celestial minstrels. And Thakur begins to sing. Dive, 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 deep into the ocean of beauty, O my mind. If you seek beyond the reach of deepest hells, you will find the priceless jewel of love divine. Seek, seek, seek. If you seek, you shall find Vrindavan in the core of your heart. Light, light, light the lamp of wisdom, and within the heart it shall ever burn and blaze. Drum, drum, drum. Who is the one who again with joyful rhythm guides the boat over high, dry land? Kubir says, listen, 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 and remember the Guru's holy and blessed feet. Thakur continues. But after her vision, a devotee has a desire to see her play. After slaying Ravana, Ramachandra entered the demon city. The old woman, Nikasha, Ravana's mother, started to run away. Lakshman said, Rama, please tell me one thing. This Nikasha is so old and has suffered so much at the death of her sons, and still she fears for her life and flees. Ramachandra assured her there was nothing to fear, and had her brought before him to question her. Nikasha said, Rama, Because I've lived long, I've seen so much of your play. That's why I wish to live even longer. Then how much more of your play I'll see. Everyone laughs. To Shivanath, I wish to see you. How will I live if I don't see pure souls? Perhaps it's because pure souls are friends from previous births. A Brahmo devotee asked, Revered sir, do you believe in reincarnation? Reincarnation, and then a quote from Gita, O Arjuna, you and I have passed through many births. Ramakrishna, yes, I've heard that there's reincarnation. Can we understand God's actions with our meager intelligence? Many have said, so I can't disbelieve it. Bhishmadev is going to give up the body. He's lying on the bed of arrows, and the Pandavas are all standing there with Sri Krishna. They notice that tears are falling from Bhishmadev's eyes. Arjuna says to Sri Krishna, Brother, what a surprise! Grand uncle, who is Bhishmadev himself, who has conquered his senses, is a wise man and one of the 8 Vasus. Even he is weeping in Maya at the time of leaving the body. Sri Krishna related these words to Bhishmadev, who said, Krishna, you know very well that I am not weeping because of that. When I think that the Pandavas, who have Bhagavan himself as their own charioteer, that even they have no end to their sufferings and dangers, then I weep, because I haven't been able to understand anything at all of Bhagavan's actions. In the bliss of kirtan with the devotees. Now the evening worship began in the Samaj hall, about 8:30 at night. About 2 hours after evening, the night was filled with moonlight. It was as if the pure beams of the autumn moon began to float on the trees and vines of the garden. Meanwhile, in the assembly hall, Sankirtan is commencing. Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna is dancing, drunk with love for Hari, and the Brahmo devotees have taken up drums and cymbals and are dancing around him. Everyone is in a drunken mood, as if they have gained the presence of the Lord himself before them. Gradually the cries of Hari's name are rising up. Villagers in all the 4 directions are listening to Hari's name, and in their minds are giving many, many thanks to the master of the garden, Bhakta Benimadav. At the end of the kirtan, Sri Ramakrishna bows on the ground to the Mother of the Universe. While bowing, he is saying, Bhagavata Bhakta Bhagavan. Literally, Scripture, the devotee, and the Lord are one. Bhagavata Bhakta Bhagavan. I bow at the feet of the Jnanis. I bow at the feet of the devotees. I bow at the feet of the devotees of God with form. I bow at the feet of the devotees of God without form. I bow at the feet of the Brahmagyanis of the past. I bow at the feet of the Brahmagyanis of the present day. Benimadav had arranged various dishes for the devotees, who ate. Sri Ramakrishna sat with the devotees and joyfully took prasad. That ends section 7 and ends chapter 3. Jai Ma.